Okay, we are live. Lord help us. Give it a couple of seconds just for everybody to get the notifications. Is it gone
Hi,
live?
Catherine.
Hey, Kat. Kat's always the first one to say hello to.
Hi, Dawn.
Oh, whereas Dawn's always kind of like the second one to log in. Okay, so welcome to our Saturday sip. This last weekend in April. First thing I want to do is kind of address the elephant in the room and give our kind of thoughts to those people in the Maritimes that are dealing with kind of an unreal situation this week. So raise a glass to them. So this week we are going to go through two kind of great wines. So we're going to do our Crowd Pleaser, our 2018 Mingle, as well as we haven't done a King's Ransom wine, so we are going to do a nice King's Ransom Pinot today as well. So not a lot of preamble today. I'm just going to kind of jump right in. Okay, Peanut Gallery's already started. So Mingle 2018. We started Mingle in 2009. Phil Sue was our winemaker at the time, and he was tasked with creating a wine for every day, for a wine for the patio, something that was just a little bit more easy, friendly, something that you can enjoy. And it's one of our only vintages that kind of changes from year to year. So each vintage will be just a little bit different. Our 2018, 64% Pinot Grigio, 25% Chardonnay, and 11% Gewürztraminer, which is kind of an odd blend, but it really works together. All estate for this one? Yes. We have it's Okanagan Falls on the yes, so all estate grown from our two vineyards. So our home vineyard here, and from Stony Knoll, which is literally across the street or across the road. This was the only wine that we do that's a little bit slightly off dry as well. So it's got just a hint of sweetness to it, which makes it a great food pairing wine, as well as a wine that you can really enjoy. Just on the patio, just on its own, after a hard day of social distancing and working on your computer, turn it off and pour yourself a glass. So right into the tasting. So this one, it's for me, it's quite complex on the nose. I know there's probably a certain percentage of us that have never had a fresh lychee. And if you haven't, I do suggest you hit up your local Chinese grocery store. Is where I find them generally. It's a little bit more difficult now that I've moved to the Okanagan to find fresh lychees. But once you taste that and once you smell that, it's something that's going to stick with you forever. It's something that's so distinct. I get quite a bit of grapefruit on this, almost like grapefruit pith or the rind of grapefruit. I get a little bit, that there's so much Pinot Grigio that you really get that white peach that Jim was talking about earlier with our Pinot Grigio. Definitely get that white peach coming in. Get a hint of floral. I get more like white blossom as opposed to rose, but everybody's going to be different, and that's okay. And I get a little bit of tropical notes, a little bit of tangerine, and just a little bit of lime zest coming through. And I keep trying not to do it on my thing because it makes a bunch of noise.
I get real honey and sweet pineapple on the nose. There's a real sweetness to that I love.
I found from
I definitely get that tropical note coming in.
Yeah.
Like for me, I don't have a huge amount of experience with pineapple. It's not my favorite fruit. So again, because everything that you smell is more to do with your history, your childhood, what you grew up with. So those are the things that always come to mind when you're doing your tastings and what you're associating things with. I do get quite a bit of minerality, almost like a crushed gravel coming through on the nose as well. So a little bit wet stone or crushed gravel. It's raining today, so that's probably why it's reminding me of that. And again, when you taste it, you're getting those notes coming right through on the palate as well. And it's funny because this wine is technically considered an off-dry, but I don't get that sweetness on the palate. It's got that nice acidity there that really balances it out. So, with some off-dry wines, you can kind of almost, it's like, okay, yeah, I can have a little bit, but, I'm not going to enjoy a whole glass. This one, that nice citrus, almost, bright acidity comes through. So then you're just like, your mouth just kind of waters and you're just ready for another sip. This could be dangerous. Food pairing. For me, this is a wine that's made for food. I am a huge fan of sushi or sashimi, and this just goes really beautifully with that. Because it does have that little bit of residual sugar, a little bit of sweetness there. So curry, something with a little bit of spice will go nicely. I like full flavored cheeses. Blue cheese, which is a notorious one to pair with white wine, generally goes with red. Yes.
We have some suggested pairings from some sisters. Amy Johnson. Mingle is a beautiful pairing with pork, carnitas tacos with charred pineapple. And
Yes.
and her sister Wanda. Mingle is just good with everything.
Yes. Good friends. Saturday afternoons.
Should definitely also give a shout out to Dawn. Dawn Gallen sent a picture to us.
Oh,
You guys haven't
with
seen it?
Yes.
Gotta go check out our story after this because she did a cupcake with a lime macaroon on top of it. It just looks like the perfect premium pairing for Mingle. Thanks, Dawn.
Okay. Yeah, I can sit and drink this for the rest of the evening, but
Damn that.
Netflix pairing. Forgot them last week. My Netflix pairing for this is Ocean's 8.
Ocean's 8.
Ocean's 8 because it's got some really strong characters and it's fun. It's it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's great and it just pairs perfectly with this. And as we move into our second month of social distancing, Netflix is my life at the moment. The dog and Netflix, that's pretty much it.
I like that. That's a good choice.
Wait till you see the one for the Pinot Noir. Bottle shot, everybody needs the bottle shot. So there we go. Mingle, go up top there. We've adjusted our camera angle so I don't have to look at two different things, which is great. Any questions, comments, anything about the Mingle anybody wants to task me with?
Lots of people saying hi, but I think we've shared most of what we're hearing on in terms of pairing and Mingle.
Yeah. So we haven't done a King's Ransom wine yet. So this will be our first one. We're going to go through our 2016 King's Ransom Pinot Noir. We did our Reserve 17 Pinot Noir a few weeks ago. But King's Ransom, that series of wines was started in 2006, which was a very, very interesting year for Noble Ridge. We purchased the Stony Knoll property in 2006. So there was that going on. That was the year of the infamous well situation. And what that did to our lovely Pinot Grigio, which is not recommended, but turned out really, really well. Also, we opened our tasting room in 2006. In all of that happening, our winemaker at the time, whose name was Philip Sue, and those of you that are conversant in Okanagan wine will recognize that name. He is one of the most revered and respected winemakers in the valley, and has started Bonamici, which is, well, if we go to the bottom of the Pinot Noir block, we could actually throw a rock and hit his vineyard, which is kind of nice to have him as a neighbor as well. But he was, he came up to Jim and Leslie and said, you got something quite special happening in the vineyard right now, and you really need to pay attention to this, because this is going to set a new standard when it comes to premium wines. So conversely, I'm having a hard time talking today. The King's Ransom collection was created. And for 2006, we created 100 cases of the King's Ransom Pinot Noir. Or not Pinot Noir, Meritage. Sorry, Meritage. Because the Merlot and the Cabernet blocks were just so amazing. And Jim recently released some tasting notes on the 2006. He just opened up a bottle not that long ago of that first King's Ransom vintage that was still drinking almost amazingly well, like for being a wine that's 14 years old, to be so full of flavor and just amazing. So
if they have a bottle in their cellar, I would recommend they open it.
Yeah, about in the next year or so, right?
Yeah, it's getting at its peak, but it's absolutely delicious. So
yeah, I was lucky enough to try the 2009 last winter. So
right.
Hint,
Yes.
hint, nudge, nudge to our
Hint, hint,
friends.
nudge, nudge.
If you guys have a bottle, you want to
Need
share.
people to help you. We should mention just before, Anna Smith says hello. Hi, Preston.
Hi, Anna. Our King's Ransom wines aren't done every year. They are only created in the most stellar of vintages. And there are currently 6 on the tasting panel. Yeah. Well, we added me this year, so.
Oh, on the tasting panel.
The tasting panel,
Tasting
yes.
panel. Yes.
So basically what happens is after the wine has been in the barrel for a year, Benoit tastes all of the barrels. That's a job that I envy him for. And he creates a series of blends of these different barrels that he thinks is going to be the best. And then starting in December, we start tasting these barrels. And we may go back to the drawing board 4 times this year, right? For the Pinot Noir?
Yes.
For the 18, yeah. There was 4 times we went back to the drawing board before we had something that all 6 of us could agree on. Mm-hmm. And that is something that is unique to the King's Ransom series, is all 6 of us now have to agree. And we won't talk about the 2012 vintage, will we, Jim?
Not today.
And so, unless it's a unanimous decision, then it doesn't happen. So like when we were doing our tasting this year, this past December for the 2018 vintage, we could only come to unanimous decision on 2 wines. And so there's only going to be 2 King's Ransom vintages in the 2018 vintage. And 2012 was our first vintage of King's Ransom Pinot Noir. Yes.
Jan Hurd says, is that the same Jim Dandria that played in the Epic 78 Vanier Cup we hear? Still can't believe he didn't get
could
MVP.
possibly be. It could possibly be.
Thanks, Janice.
when we were doing the reserve Pinot Noir tasting, I came across a couple of great quotes or great sayings about Pinot Noir. My favorite being that Pinot Noir is the diva of the
Varietal.
Wine world.
varietal runway. Yes. I came across another one as I was doing some research today, or actually not today, this week. God made Cabernet Sauvignon, whereas the devil made Pinot Noir.
Interesting.
Pinot Noir is notoriously difficult to get to do well. It is very finicky. It's thin-skinned. It doesn't like a lot of heat. It doesn't like a lot of coolness. It needs to be exactly perfect for everything to go right. So they call it the winemaker's heartache.
Benoit's baby.
And we call it Benoit's baby.
Yeah.
So we have 3 blocks of Pinot Noir, blocks 11, 12, and 13. I talked about the clones a couple weeks ago. I encourage you, if you missed that, to go back to and watch my wonderful things on the different clones. But we're just gonna get right into the tasting of this lovely Pinot. Just to let you know a little bit about the winemaking, Benoit cold soaks his Pinot Noir for about 5 days. And at the end of that 5 days, you'll actually start to see a little bit of spontaneous fermentation happening. And before he inoculates with special yeast for each different block or each different picking. This one spends a little bit longer in barrel than our reserve Pinot. This one, a minimum of 14 months in French barrels. A lot more new barrels as well. We're talking, 40 to 50% new barrels. And then we bottle age anything reserve tier and up for at least a year before we release it. We want it to be ready to go, but definitely ageable before we let you guys in on the secrets. So, got it in your glass? Please stick your nose right in there because this one is really, really complex. It has got an amazing amount of things happening in this glass. First thing that hits me is that kind of really rich, dark plum. You get a little bit of black cherry as well, which is not something that you normally see on a Pinot Noir. Generally, you're getting that kind of strawberry, raspberry note. I get a hint of cranberry, but it's more that Christmas cranberry. That kind of almost cranberry jelly, jammy kind of thing. Definitely getting into that kind of earthy, mushroomy notes as well. I do get just a hint of floral. Benoit's note says violet, but I don't really get violet. I get more hibiscus.
I totally get
But that is just my own personal thing. And then you get kind of more into those kind of oak notes, so those vanilla tones and a little bit of allspice or clove. A little bit of spiciness there as well. Try not to do that. And then again, on the palate, you've got that structure, you've got that tannin, but it's nice and velvety, it's rich, it's full. This is a wine that, you take a sip and, 3, 4, 5 minutes later, you've still got those flavors happening on your tongue. Yeah. I can just kind of... And again, those notes are really followed through on the palate as well. So, that's one thing you really don't, it is kind of a very atypical Pinot Noir, whereas it's rich and dark and almost brooding. And it's a serious wine. It makes you want to stand up and pay attention. Oh, that's my mom calling me, telling me I shouldn't be drinking on camera. Food pairing. This one you can. It's so versatile. Like you can do brisket, you could do ribs, beef bourguignon. been getting into kind of the more classic dishes lately. Portobello mushrooms, lamb shoulder. I love lamb shoulder. I actually had it this week with this wine.
Great.
And venison.
Yeah.
You know, you can get into the game meats like Cornish game hen or pheasant, or, you know, and of course, duck and Pinot Noir are made for each other. So,
Some questions here. I'm just putting it to
sure.
to you and to Jim. Dawn is asking us, what would you estimate its prime year will be if you were to put it away? How long? This is where we need Benoit too.
I have a hard time with that question, to be really brutally honest, because everybody's palate is unique to them. Some people like wines that are high tannin and just kind of knock you over the head, and they just love that. That's their wheelhouse, right? Some people like it when getting more into those secondary characteristics, where you're getting more into those kind of less of that fruit and more of, when the tannins have really velveted out and things. So there is no right answer to that.
Until Dawn.
There's no sorry, yeah. Look at the camera. I can't give you a definitive saying, drink this on December 12th, 2025. I have a hard time with that, because I have where I like my wines is going to be different than how you like your wines. The best thing, what I've found is when I find a wine that really speaks to me and really, makes me stand up and take notice, I buy several and I try it. It's like, okay, so this wine is at this point right now and I'm really enjoying it, but I really want more of this. So I'll wait another 3 months or 6 months and I'll try it again. And then the trick is to find it at that sweet spot where you really are, it's blowing you away, and then to just enjoy it. The worst thing to do is to say, you know what, I liked it better last year. So find that sweet spot and just don't save it, enjoy it. That's what wine is made for. It's made for you to enjoy.
Lots of questions are coming in, and there's one that Jim wants to speak to, but Dawn Prest has a really good answer to this, which is the year you are in. Thanks, Dawn.
And I guess just to follow up on that, Preston, you're exactly right, but especially since we started out, we've had a number of vintages. We didn't know how long they were going to last. I just tasted the 2008 Pinot, which won gold at the Canadians last year, and it was still drinking very, very nicely, but it was starting to, you could just see it starting to go. So, at that point we were looking at 11 years, but much is also going to depend on how the wine's stored. Is it the constant temperature? Is it the right temperature? Is it subjected to light? So it's going to depend on your cellar as well as to how long the wine will go. But I completely agree with you. Find that sweet spot and then drink it. That's why I said earlier with the 06 Meritage, if you have a bottle, it's hit the sweet spot, and so drink it.
So I just want to speak a little bit to what Jim just said about, if you've got, wine that you're really, finding is your thing and you want to buy several to kind of hang on to and try over a period of time, there's 3 things you need to worry about. First and foremost, temperature. Make sure that it's as constant as you can get it. I know we all don't have wine rooms, but as long as the temperature is consistent, within a degree or 2, it's wine, not rocket science. But try to keep it as constant as you can. Keep it away from light, the artificial or natural light, because that will speed the aging process as well. And the third thing is vibration. Keep it away from vibration because you're constantly disturbing the wine. So having it underneath your stairs where your wine rack is attached to your stairs and they're wooden stairs, going up and down the stairs is actually going to cause some issues as you're aging the wine. So,
There's a couple other things going on here.
Yeah.
There's a question around Oregon, but before I get there, there's also been some questions around what would you pair it with, and some suggestions. That one of our friends was talking about, she, I believe, raises some beef. So beef, she was suggesting, would be a great combination. But but a question around what would you suggest in terms of favorite pairings? And I think you said some of them.
My absolute go-to, my favorite pairing is duck. I think Pinot Noir and duck they grew up in the same household. They're just made for each other. I like to, with Noble Ridge's Pinot Noir, I get a little bit more adventurous. I get a little bit more experimental. Because it is so rich and so deep, you can get a little creative with it. I have some chef friends that are really into game meats. Hi, Chef Heinz. And you can get a little bit more creative with it. Experiment. Wine and food should be fun. You can create some amazing, unexpected pairings and some amazing disasters that just are they're almost more fun than the successes, because it's like, oh my god, what the heck was I thinking? But you never know unless you try it.
And one more question for you, and actually Benoit, our winemaker, and Jim, asking about how would the terroir compare from Noble Ridge to top Pinot areas of Oregon? Would the climate be similar? Should we refer this to Benoit? We can refer this to Benoit.
I'll get some answers from Benoit, but I'll give you my own 2 cents worth. I think that our terroir is absolutely unique, and I don't know that I would want to compare it to something else. I think it is something that our Pinot Noir could only happen here. I don't think that you could replicate it somewhere else. I don't think it would work. With this trellising system that we use, the soils that we have, with the aspect of the slope, I just don't see a comparison out there. And that's not to say one is better than the other. I have my own opinion on that. But I just don't think that it's not a fair comparison.
Interesting.
I think it is absolutely 100% world class, and I think that both areas are world class, but just different. And Jim can disagree with you.
No, I agree with you. I think that the terroir here is, it's glacial, fluvial soil. It's been carved out by the glaciers. I wouldn't think that Oregon would have the same type of terroir, and so that we're different there. The climate is a bit different too. We're sort of in the arid, desert tip of the Sonoran, a little bit different there. I've had people tell me that know a lot of Pinots that it's sort of a combination. They think is a combination of Burgundy and Oregon. We're sort of somewhere different. But it goes to your point that we are very different. We are very unique. So if you get a good Okanagan Pinot, it should be standing on its own with its own terroir, its own flavor profiles.
Yeah. Like when I'm, in a normal year, when I'd be standing across from somebody in the tasting room here and trying to describe our Pinot, I like to think of it as if you took the best aspects of a cru Burgundy and the best aspects of Russian River Pinot, and they got together and had babies. That's kind of how I describe our Pinot, because it doesn't lean one way or the other. It's got the best aspects of both, in my opinion. But anyway, Netflix pairing, Gotham. Because for me, I kind of like the idea of Pinot Noir being the Dark Knight, and that's kind of how I see this wine, is kind of as a Dark Knight, as a parting, those kind of great aspects of dark and light. So
yeah, the Dark Knight and the real star.
Yes, yeah.
That's awesome.
So okay, on to the recipe lab. I didn't post any pictures this week because basically it was so freaking delicious. I ate it all. Well, Ollie had some too. And it's a recipe that I kind of stole this week from the good old Martha Stewart. I added a few things, took away a few things, but asparagus is kind of coming into season now. And asparagus is one of those vegetables that's really hard to pair. And I think the mingle goes extremely well with this. So I did an asparagus and lemon risotto. The recipe's up on our website now. Basically, risotto has a bad rap. It's really, I think that, oh God, what is that chef's name now? It's gone out of my head. One that swears a lot.
Oh, yeah. Picture him.
Graham.
No.
Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, his name went out of my head. Somebody tell me in the comments really quick.
There you
go. Famously doesn't do well on that show. But so you need about 6 cups of vegetable stock, 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, small yellow onion, 1 cup of arbaro, and I'm pronouncing that wrong, but that's okay. Rice, 1/2 cup of dry white wine, a bunch of asparagus trimmed, and the stalks cut. I cut them on the diagonal just because it looks prettier. A cup of thawed frozen peas.
go.
Chef Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay. Yes.
Gordon Ramsay. Yeah.
Yes. There's a reason why I forgot his name.
John was famous.
Grated lemon zest, 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice, 1/2 cup of fresh parsley, 1/2 cup of Parmesan, I can't speak anymore, Reggiano, and a little bit more for presentation at the end, coarse salt and pepper to taste. So you're going to bring your stock up in a pot to a nice medium simmer. 2 tablespoons of oil in a separate saucepan. Cook the onion about 6 to 7 minutes. Add the rice, cooking until the edges are just starting to turn. Add your wine. Gotta add your wine. And then stir it till it's evaporated. The thing about risotto is it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. You kind of have to be there.
Dedication.
Stirring
Commitment.
a lot. You're going to add your stock about 1/2 cup at a time until it's absorbed. And then keep doing that until everything is pretty much al dente. Takes about 20 minutes total for that. You're going to add your asparagus and your peas right at the end, and your lemon zest and your Parmesan. Do a little shaving over top. Done. I had this as my starter with the mingle, and then I did a rosemary lamb shoulder for the Pinot Noir.
Fun having
Yeah. Our local restaurant here in town, Theo's. I've been trying to replicate their recipe for probably the last 5 years. Haven't gotten there yet, but I always order the lamb shoulder when I'm there. So that is my little recipe lab for today.
You have a fan, Wanda. Love making risotto. I do too, Wanda. I love making risotto. Standing there, stirring, love it.
Last thing I want to talk about, and I've debated back and forth whether or not I was going to say anything about this today. This week's been tough, I think, for a lot of us. We're into, going into our 2nd month of isolation. That's tough. And then, the events that happened in Nova Scotia this week. And, yeah. So you get to feel a little bit odd, not quite yourself. And if you're like me, you kind of wonder, well, what can I do? And Jim was talking about our whole philosophy of being noble. So,
Shit. This is going to be hard for you to say, isn't it?
Yeah. So I had to go to the grocery store, pick up some adobo rice and a few other things, asparagus, and I had somebody that doesn't know me that well and gave me a gift card for the theater. I'm never going to use it. It's not it's something that I do. So I kind of said, okay. I brought it with me to the grocery store and said to the cashier, said, hey, when this is all over, take yourself out for a movie. And didn't do that just to be, hey, I'm a great guy, whatever. It's just something to brighten someone else's day. And I'm going to end it there. Okay.
No?
Yep.
You did a great, and that lucky person who are our people that, we're all these people that we're trying to support out there. And how do we do it? How do we do it? And so you've shown us a tangible way to say thank you to all these people that are on the front line for us right now.
Yeah.
So that's, thank you, Preston.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cheers.
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 Clink,
next
clink,
week.
clink.
Clink, clink,
So
clink.
No,
next week.
actually-
Oh yes, next week's wines. Before I forget.
I was
Crap.
actually saying to next week, but
Next week's wines, we get two crowd favorites that I'm really looking forward to playing around with. Stony Knoll Chardonnay, which is our Chablis style of Chardonnay, and our Noble Meritage, which is such an amazing wine for the price point. Super over delivers, and I'm looking forward to next week. And we will see you all then.
Stay safe, everyone.
Stay safe.
Bye, guys.
Awesome.